If you'd like to learn how to create your own walk animation to add to your characters or NPCs, keep watching and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Welcome to Roblox Snippets. Alright, to make the animation, just follow along with these steps. If I'm moving too quick, then pause the video, do the step and then start playing again. First step, get a blank project up here and then come up to the Avatar tab at the top of the screen. Over here you'll find the button Rig Builder, so left click on that and it'll bring up this window here. Now in this particular project where we're working on animations, you can close the output window, the Explorer window and the properties window, and that will bring up this area where we can work very clearly. Alright, we're going to select the R15 rig. You can choose male or female. Any of these are fine, and I'm going to choose mesh, so make sure it's R15 though. Alright, once you have your rig in the workspace, you'll see that it's facing away from you. So we're going to left click on the rig, hit Command or Control R to rotate the rig a couple of times and it will come around to face you so that the face is towards us. However, we want it to be facing over to the right, so you can hit Command or Control R one more time and you'll notice that it should be facing over to our right. Alright, so if you have that, go ahead and if you click on your rig, so left click and then hit F, you'll notice that we come in for a nice tight focused zoom on your rig and we are ready to come up and click on the animation editor. So still under Avatar, click on Animation Editor and then it wants us to select the rig, so just click on it and then down the bottom type in the name for the animation. So I'll call this one Video Walk. Okay, and I'll give it 01 as a version. Click on Create. Just a quick run over what the animation editor parts are. Down the bottom you'll see that we have this timeline. It goes from 0 up to 1 second. If you left click on this blue line, that's called a scrubber, and you can left click and hold and drag that anywhere you like within that timeline. In this timeline is where we create keyframes, and that is what forms our animation, and we'll be doing that in just a minute. Over here we'll have the length of the animation here and where you are within it. So as I said, if you bring the scrubber over here, we're up to 0.1 seconds, and then you have these controls here just like you would on a DVD player. For those people who don't know what a DVD player is, ask your parents. Okay, alright, so we have a normal play button, plays forward. This one here will move ahead one keyframe. This one will move to the end of your animation. And then you have the reverse, so you can play your animation in reverse, move back one keyframe, or move to the very beginning of your animation, which I just did then. Alright, so this button here and this one here are the most important. This one here is to loop the animation so that it will play over and over, which is very useful for us because we'll be doing a walking animation, which is a looped animation. Okay, now that we have that our controls under control, so to speak, come over to the three dots and left click on that. This is the menu for our animations, and I'd like you to immediately come into Save As and click on New. And now I've already got a name in here. You can type in your same name that you had before and click on Save. Now you might think, well, why did we do that other one? This is actually just saving the progress as we go along, and then later we're going to publish our animation to Roblox, and that is the one that we will use. The rest of these things under this menu we can talk about a little bit later, but if you come up to load, then you'll see the video we just saved. Down here, import, you can bring in an animation you've already made. These ones are if you use Blender or other animation creators, you can bring in those animations. You can create a completely new animation if you wish, and then we'll talk about the setting the animation priority towards the end. But at the moment, this one, walk animation, is for movement. So we're going to go ahead and click on that there now, if you like. Set animation priority movement, and that will allow us to have it run when our character moves. Alright, now that we have gone through all of that, over here you'll find this button that says IK. Go ahead and click on that. Now IK stands for inverse kinetics, and I'm not going to explain that. Just trust me that it's very cool to work with. You should have this window pop up, and you can find this big button down here, enable IK, left click on it. Now you should have all of the body parts in our rig, and up the top here, body part and full body as selections. So initially we'll just stick with body part and we're ready to go. When we walk, we have a number of stages that we go through as we walk, and we're breaking those down into frames or keyframes down the bottom here, or stages, and we're going to do 8 different ones. Now they involve a starting pose, which I'm just going to rotate around to the front here. Now if you want to rotate your character like this, hold down your right mouse button and then move your mouse left and right, and you'll be able to spin around your character like this. Now, when we move limbs, it's best if you move the part of the limb that is closest to the main body. So we're going to start off with the contact position, and I'm going to make a start on it, but then I'll show you the finished position so you can study it and do it yourself. So over here in our Manage IK section, I'd like you to click on or find the right upper leg. Okay, so here it is up here. So as you can see, it's connected to the lower torso. So we're going to move that one, and we're going to move it backwards. So when we do that, we're rotating, and we're going to use the red one here to rotate it backwards. So if I move around to the side here again, I'd like you to come up to, well, it's on avatar in here as well, and change rotate. So make sure that it's ticked and set it to 10 degrees. Okay, and while you're there, you can also set move to 2 studs. Okay, and that will suit us for move. Actually, that's probably too big. Let's go with let's go with 0.5 studs, so we get fine movement when we move. Right, now we're going to move the upper leg, rotate it, so move it back like this till it's at about 40 degrees or so. Now if it's gone a little bit over, don't panic too much. Basically what we want to do is move it back till the tip of the toe is on the ground here. Alright, and then we want to spin around to the other side, and now we want to get the right upper leg, okay, oh sorry, the left upper leg, and we're going to move it forward like this. So the heel is just about to, or has been planted on the ground, so around 30. You could do it 40, but I'd say around 30 would be good. Right, so we've got both of our legs out like this. Now, normally you don't have a completely straight leg, so what we'll do is we'll take the right lower leg and just move it around, say 20 degrees, and then move the right upper leg back down by about the same. So he's got a little bit of a bent knee when he does this. Alright, and then we're going to do the right upper arm. So come down the bottom and find right upper arm, and we're going to move it forward by about, say 40 degrees, and then grab the right lower arm and move it up till it's probably a little bit past sort of 90 degrees, so around like this, so it looks like this. Alright, and next we'll come around to the other side, and our left upper arm, so we'll take this one and we want to swing it back behind us like so. Alright, so about 40 or so, and then take the left lower arm and move it back so that it's sort of straight down, I think, and that looks like a pretty good starting position. So now I'll show you the contact position that I started with. Here is the finished pose 1 contact, so go ahead and look at the different rotations that I've shown here and get your model looking as close to this as possible. So this is the contact position where our heel hits the ground, and when we do that we enter the next pose, which is called the recoil position. Alright, now before we do that, however, you'll notice down the bottom we have this keyframe. However, we want to create our new pose in the next keyframe, so what we'll do is where we see this 0.03, left click and move our scrubber so that it's sitting on that big line, and we will make our next pose that will move from this one smoothly to the next one, and that's how we do our animation. Now each time you do something and you've finished it and you're happy with it, you should come down and left click on the three buttons, come up and save your animation so that you have everything ready to go. Alright, so rather than me go through and you watch me moving everything now, everything else is I'll put up the next pose to show you where we get up to. So the next one will be called the recoil position. So in the recoil position, the leg that is contacting the ground at the front bends slightly and absorbs the force of us hitting the ground, and we move forward a little bit and alter our limbs just slightly. To show you what I did in the second pose, so I'm down here, I've moved up a little bit. All I did was on the right side, so the side closest to us, if we come up to our right upper leg, I simply rotated it down till it was almost vertical, and then the right lower leg, I'd moved it back so that the toe was sort of just off the ground a little bit, and then the right upper arm, I simply rotated that down just about 10 degrees, just a little bit. And then we can move around to the left side, and all we're going to do here is with our left upper leg, lower leg, we're going to rotate it so that it is basically level with the ground. Now don't worry if it doesn't appear to be on the ground at the moment, we're going to fix that towards the end. And our left upper arm, so if we come down and find that one, we'll just move it forward about 10 degrees so it's swinging forward. Alright, and that is our pose 2. So the next pose is passing, and I'll show you that one very quickly, the finished pose, and show you how to achieve that. In pose 3, our right leg is now swinging past our left leg, and our arms are also swinging past our body, so it's almost like we're straight up and down, except our right leg is bent and our left leg is slightly behind us. To achieve our passing pose, make sure you move the scrubber up to the next big bar down the bottom in the timeline for our third keyframe, and what we're going to do is take our right upper leg and we're going to rotate it so that it is sort of just the knee is past our body. Alright, take the right lower leg and just rotate it back a little bit so the toe is sort of down near the ground. And then we're going to bring our arm down, so our right arm, if we straighten our right lower arm first just a bit, alright, so it doesn't have to be completely straight, and then our upper arm to bring it down next to our body, so it's just passing us, and then we'll come around to the other side, and what we want to do is straighten our left leg now, so we'll straighten the left lower leg, so simply move it back out by 10 degrees or so, and if you go too far, the whole leg will move, which is fine. And then take the upper leg and we're going to move it so that it is not straight up and down but just behind us slightly, right? And we can move our right upper arm, our left upper arm just forward so that it's just sort of level with our body, like it's going to swing forward, and that is our passing pose. Right, the next one that we will move on to is our high point. Alright, and we're nearly halfway through the cycles, and we're starting to, we should be able to have a look at our animation very shortly. Pose 4 is called the high point, which means we've put our leading leg up and we're getting ready to swing it forward and plant it onto the ground. So our right leg should be up in the air and our leg sort of underneath it, and we have rolled back onto the left toe, and our arms are sort of in motion as well. So we're bringing forward our opposite arm, which is our left arm, and we're swinging our right arm back. To achieve our high point pose, make sure you move your keyframe once again to the next big line, and we should have 3, and we're up to 4 now. And so take your right upper leg, and we're going to move this forward like he's got his knee sort of up in the air, and you can then take his right lower leg and just rotate it slightly backwards. Okay, so it's sort of just hanging in the air. Now our right upper arm, we're just going to move that slightly behind us, alright, and maybe even back a little bit, and take our right lower arm and just so it's not completely straight and just a little bit behind us. And then rotate around to the other side, and now with our left leg, so we'll get our left upper leg, we're going to rotate that back just until like his toe is just on the ground, so he's looks like he's standing on his toes. Alright, and remember we're bringing his left arm forward, so get his left upper arm and just rotate it slightly forward so that his hand is coming out in front of him, and that is our high point pose. And now we'll move on to our next pose, which will be, we're starting to repeat now, where we'll go back to the middle contact pose. So the middle contact pose, which is our fifth pose, is basically the same as the very first pose we did, only we now have opposites forward and back. So if we started with our right leg, then the middle pose will be with our left leg forward, and etc. So we're in the middle of our walk cycle. Alright, so for the middle contact, we want to move our scrubber to create a new keyframe. So we should be up, we should have 4, and we're on our 5th one now. So we're effectively creating, if we jump back to the first one here, we're creating this position, only this time we're going to have our right leg forward and our left leg back, and the opposite with our arms. So if I come back to here, what we want to do is firstly straighten this right leg out. So we'll take our right lower leg here, and we just want to rotate it right out, maybe not completely straight, just so that it's a little bit bent, and then come up to our upper leg and bring it down so that the heel is about to strike the ground, alright, with our right leg. Now with our right arm, we'll take our right upper arm and simply swing it back, like so. So it's just back behind us. And then we can come around to our left side now, and with our left leg, it's almost in the correct position where it is, alright, except we probably just want to move it maybe back a little bit. So let's go to our left upper leg and swing it back a little bit further, so he comes up onto his toe a bit more. And to make it a little bit more natural, if we click on our left lower leg and just bend the leg slightly, and then bring our upper leg back down so that the toe is on the ground, okay, and now our left arm here, alright, is going to swing out in front of us. So we'll come down to the left upper arm and swing it forward, okay, and you can probably that's probably enough if we just bring it forward like that, and that will be our middle contact position. So pose 6 now is to a recoil position, so we're just going through the same that we did before, only on the opposite sides of the body, where our right leg now is almost vertical to the ground and our left leg is passing behind. So to achieve our recoil position, we want to move our scrubber once again to the next big line, and we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 behind us, and we're working on our 6th keyframe. So to get our recoil, if you remember, we start with our right lower leg, and we simply want to bend it so that it is almost, well, sort of level with the ground. And as I said, don't worry if it's not touching the ground. And our right upper arm, we want to rotate it so that it's starting to swing forward, so just bring it forward perhaps 20 degrees or so. And we can swing around to the left side now. And with our left side, okay, we now want to bring our knee, we want to rotate our left lower leg, so rotate it up, right, and then the left upper leg, we'll just bring it forward a little bit, alright. So he's planting his right foot, and with the left leg, he's sort of getting ready to swing that by. We can probably bring his left leg up a little bit higher, and also with his left arm now, come down and grab his left upper arm, and so we want to bring that one perhaps forward a little bit more. Okay, so because the opposites, we want the opposite arm to match up with this, so bring it up so that it's about level, and we can play with these a little bit later. However, that should be pretty good just for a rough recoil position for position 6. Pose 7 is our passing pose. So in this case, our left leg is now passing and our right leg is coming back behind us. So it's exactly the same as our earlier passing, only on the opposite side. To achieve pose 7, which is our passing pose, we now need to bring this right leg down. So we'll come to our right upper leg, and you want to rotate this down so that it is almost level, probably even a little bit behind, I would say, and straighten that the left leg past. So we'll just bring that down and bring our right upper leg back a little bit more, so it's just going past the body, and with our right upper arm we'll simply swing it down next to the body, and perhaps just bring his right lower arm just forward a little bit as if it's going past, and then we can come around to the other side, and now with his left upper leg we'll rotate it forward, so sort of coming up with the knees up, and the left lower leg you can just bring it back a little bit, and now with his arm he's going to be bringing this back down towards his side, so on the left upper arm just rotate it back down sort of so that it's down next to his body, and that will be our passing pose, and we're almost there, so hang in there, and we'll move on to the second last pose now, which is our last high point pose. Once again, the high point pose sees our left leg, knee right up in the air, ready to place the foot down, and we're right up on our tippy toes on our right. Our right arm is coming forward and our left arm is going back. Alright, before we do these last couple of poses, if you were very sharp, you may have noticed that I made an error. Down the bottom here, I may have moved up here, but I might have dragged this back, and this keyframe here is wrong. Okay, so the last one that I did correct was the middle contact pose. So what I'm going to do is, when you make a mistake like this, you can right click on the keyframe that's wrong, come up and click on delete selected, and then come back to where you were. So I'll pause the video briefly and get up to where we should be. Okay, so we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 keyframes, and we're on our 8th keyframe for our final high point. So in this case, what we're doing is we're going to bring our left leg through. So we'll start on our left side over here, and we want to swing our left upper leg so that it's sort of up like this. Alright, and our left upper arm, we'll just have it moving backwards a little bit behind us. Okay, and we'll come around to our right side now, and with our right leg, so our right upper leg, we want to move it sort of back and straighten the leg out if it's bent. So grab the right one and just straighten the leg, and I'll just move that back a little bit so he's on his toes. So we're doing the high point here. Alright, and now the right arm is going to be coming forward, so we want to grab the right upper arm and move it forward slightly, sort of in front of the body, and the right lower arm and move it forward like so. So we're at our high point. And that should conclude our high point, and we're ready to move on to the final frame of our animation. The final frame of our animation is exactly the same as the first one, because we're doing a looping animation that is movement. So we will simply be copying and pasting this, the first frame, to become the last frame. Okay, the last frame of our animation, as I said, is the same as the first one. So what we can do is come back to the very first frame here and click on the diamond shape down the bottom so they're all blue. Then right click and come up to copy selected. Then with your scrubber bar, come up and click on the last blue line, or the next blue line, and down in the timeline right click and paste keyframes. And we have come back to the beginning. So now we have a complete animation. Let's see how it works. So come back to the beginning and then hit play. And you should see one walk cycle. Now if you want to see it over and over again, left click on the loop and then hit play, and you should have your animation playing. Now I've done mine fairly quickly. It does look alright to me. However, if yours is a bit glitchy or if there's something wrong, what you can do is just stop, turn off the looping and come back to the beginning, and you can grab the scrubber and scrub through, and if you come across something and you say, oh, that's not quite right, then while you're on that keyframe, then make adjustments to the limbs so that it looks correct. Now the other thing is, if I click on play here and I think, well, he's walking a little bit too fast or a little bit too slow, then what you want to do is, if you want to make it faster, you move all of these keyframes closer together, and if you want to make it slower, you move them further apart. So if I was to take these and drag it up to the full 1 second, then he would walk much slower. You can also make your animation longer as well. Instead of 1 second, you can make it 2 and make him walk very slowly. Totally up to you. Now there is a couple of things that we need to do to polish this up, and I'll just bring up the next one on the screen to make this look a little bit more natural than how he's walking. As you can see, he's moving his legs, but his body's not really moving up and down, and that doesn't look very natural. So we'll have a look at that now. As you can see here in this example, we now are going to add the up and down movement. So I'll show you how to do that after this short clip. To achieve our players moving up and down while they're walking, we're going to start with the player in the first keyframe here, and that is level. So on this second keyframe, we're going to make them move down a little bit. Now I've already moved mine down a little bit there. However, if I undo that, I'll show you how I did that. So starting level, we come to the second keyframe, and then up the top here, we'll try clicking on the move box and moving to studs. Now we're going to move, we want to move the whole player's body down. So come and left click on full body up here, and then find the player's right foot. Now you'll notice these pins, so click on the pin next to the right foot and the left foot, and we're going to come up to we'll try the upper torso. So click on the upper torso, and what we want to do is move this down, so pulling down on the green one here until he just moves down a little bit like that. That might be a little bit sort of too far, but we'll have a look in a minute. So from here, our first keyframe, he's now moved, his body's moved down. Now in the next keyframe, he's moving back to where he was, and that's fine, that's what we want. So skip to keyframe 4 now, and what we're going to do is move him up. So just grab the green handle and move him until he moves just up a little bit, okay? So you can come back and say, okay, he's moved up a bit, which is good, that looks pretty good. And then in the next keyframe, he goes back to the middle position, all right, where we want him. So we're doing every second one. So now we'll move on to the next one, and we want him to go down. So we'll just move his body until he moves down slightly, like that. The next keyframe, he comes back up to the neutral position, and then the second last keyframe, he's in the high point, so we want him to come up slightly. So just move it up until you see him move, like that. And the last one, he comes back to neutral. So now if you play your animation, you should see that he moves up and down. Now if you sort of moved him too much, just go to whichever keyframe is looking a bit weird and try to reset that, or sort of move him back up a little bit. Otherwise you can undo anything that you've done and come back to where you were, but you should end up with a fairly normal looking walk cycle like this. So next we'll just add a couple of things to polish off your animation, and I'll show you how to use it. To add a little bit of polish to your animation, we're going to use easing in and out, which is an effect, or sort of adds a little bit of smoothness to your animation between frames. Okay, to add a little bit of polish to your animation, we're now going to add some what's called easing. So it just adds a little bit of smoothness to everything. So down where your keyframes are, if you left click and hold at the end and then drag right across the top of all of the keyframes till they all turn blue like this. We can apply this to everything at once. So when it looks like this, right click on any of them and you'll see easing style and easing direction. So with easing style, you can experiment with these. So the default one is linear, but if you were to choose constant and then come over and hit play, then you will maybe put the loop on there. You'll see that it gives a slightly different effect. And if you don't like that one, then you can come up and pick, say, cubic and apply that. And that looks pretty smooth. Okay, so pick one that you like. And once you've done that, the other thing that you want to change is the direction. So I'm using in and out, but you can experiment with in or just out and see if, and pick one that you like. Okay, so once you have done that and you're happy with how your animation is looking, right, the last thing that we really need to do is to publish this. And there's a couple of settings that you want to look at before you do that. The first thing you want to do is come over to our three dots and click on Save, saving our animation, and then click on the three dots again, and we're going to look at the animation priority. Now, if you want to apply this to your own character, you want to come down and choose movement. Alright, so mine's already checked, but normally it's set on core, so make sure you left click on movement. Now we want to leave the looping on, so make sure that this is blue so that the animation will play smoothly when you run around. Alright, click on the three dots once again and choose optimize keyframes. This box will come up, and what it does is it deletes any unnecessary keyframes out of your animation so that, well, it optimizes it and makes it run as well as it can. And once again, we'll click on the three dots, and the last thing we want to do is click on Publish to Roblox. So left click on that, and you should see a screen pop up. Now sometimes it does weird things like this, so just down at the bottom left or right corner there, just drag it a little bit to resize the window, and mine comes back to normal if that happens for you. Now I'll call this my walk, say standard walk video. Right, so it's just a standard animation walk, but you can do all sorts of crazy things if you apply the same ideas that we have talked about with the contact and recoil and high points. Even if you do crazy walks, it'll make it seem natural. However, once you have got the name of your animation up here and you can put a description, left click submit, and you'll get this success window come up here. So you can grab the ID immediately. However, we will simply close this window and I'll show you how to do it in Studio. Right, and we're finished with the animation editor, so you can come up and close that. So now I'll show you how to apply it to your character very quickly. Come up to the view and we'll open up our Explorer and Properties windows. You can minimize your rig there now. And what I'd like you to do is play the game. And once the game has loaded up, come up to the workspace up the top and find your character. Expand it, and in your character you will find this animate script. If you expand that, you'll see all of the standard animations that come with your Roblox character. So what we're going to do is left click on that script and then right click and choose copy while the game's running. Come up and left click and stop. So once it's stopped, scroll down and find the starter player and expand that. Choose starter character scripts and right click and paste into. Alright, we can now expand that script and we're going to find the standard run down here. So if you expand run, you'll find this run object inside of here, an animation object with an ID. So we're going to replace this ID now with our own ID. So come up to Home tab up the very top, click on Toolbox, and then click on Inventory up the top. This will get the things that you have made or that you have, and then the drop down on the left here and you should find My Animations. So go ahead and click on My Animations, and any animations you've made will appear here with the most recent one in the top left hand corner. So this is the one I just made, so right click on it and we'll copy the asset ID. So once you've copied it, come down to where we've got this animation ID, left click in it once, delete whatever's in there and then right click and paste your own number inside. Hit enter and Roblox Studio will format that correctly for us. Once you have done that, we're ready to give it a test. So click on File and Save, and let's run the game. Right, when you're loaded in, when you run now around, you'll notice that your brand new walk animation has replaced the standard run animation that was in Roblox. So look, I really hope you enjoyed learning how to make your own animation, and I certainly enjoyed making it, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. If you found this video useful, subscribe now. For more information about my online courses, go to mrbrendanross.com.